Could you tell us a little bit about what you're doing in this to preserve and enhance the existing social and community fabric that has now developed in the last 10 years or so in Little Bay? By that I mean, when the cruise ship season is over, you've got the yachts, you've got the kids in their summer and Easter summer schools and at the weekends doing snorkeling and swimming. It's the one free thing we can do, and it's one of the main beaches on the island that provides free, fabulous entertainment. And since we've had the groins put in, the reefs and the fish, even in the last 3 years, are really amazing. And one of the attractions for tourists coming in, not off the big boats, but for locals and yachts and so on. And then you've got the little restaurants and the bars. And when the ferry comes in, you know, people go down to hang out and line. I'm sure you've picked that up a bit. It's burgeoning. It's really recreating and reconnecting after the crisis. What are you doing as part of this port development to absolutely preserve and enhance that burgeoning social fabric that is developing? And I'd like to know also what came out of, what are the recommendations from the social impact assessment, and what are you doing to take them forward? Because training your team means nothing to me in concrete terms. So 2 questions then.
I'll have to defer to Robert. To Robert and to Rolson. This one here? Yeah. You know, under the contract said we're the EPC, so there's certain things we do with regards to social, gender, environment, etc. But a lot of that is being driven from standing from the government. It's the studies they've done over the past years. So they describe certain things we have to do in the contract, in the project. I mean, Rolson's mentioned about the trailers that are going to be procured for the fishermen. For us, what we managed to do with regards to the Little Bay has been to change the design. I'm sure that for 6 months, people want to go down to Little Bay and all you hear is a flying out. They're going from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock. That's a big advantage we saw we have on the community, have on the environment, and having the safety of our workers as well. And that's something we'll be able to do. The rest has been done in the ESIA, which I believe is the government website. And they've gone through and studied those events. I wasn't part of that, so I don't know off by heart what it is. But there's certain things in our contract that describe us to take some mitigations that are recommended in there.
I suppose what I'm saying is that Little Bay has become the main beach and the landing point for Montserratians, non-Montserratians and foreigners alike. Yep. It's the only place we really have. How is that being safeguarded and protected and enhanced? Or is the port just going to become a big port with big cruise lines coming in?
And again, that would be a question for the government to now do some studies. And at the end of the day, we'll be able to build it here, at least impacting the environment and the social agenda. And that don't be studied before we write it, because there are effects. Obviously, just putting it here in the water, it's going to change the water current, it's going to change the aesthetics of it, etc., etc. So certain things they study before we came. I'm not sure if they're prepared to answer them now or how they want to address it. But we are going through certain things there.
Good afternoon. I seem to recently start off all my little questions and interventions with disappointment. One of the things that we've always asked, I have always asked about, from the time we started back in 1998, when we decided that we should live in Montserrat, build a back Montserrat, etc., is that anything we are doing should, and I'm preempting this because of my question, this is for the government here. Anything that we are doing should be as good as or better than we have, or else we are not doing anything. Here we are in 2023, and I am hearing that You just mentioned somebody asked the question, and you said that it will not be basically as good as, in some aspects, as what we had in Plymouth. Could you explain that to me, please?
What aspect? You talking about cruise ships coming in, or
The facility of having the cruise ships coming in, the large cruise ships coming in. Okay, whoever can do.
Respond to that question. Can you hear me? I'm just talking to the microphone.
no, we recorded.
Recording. How's that, okay? So when Stantec took on this project, as I mentioned in my introduction, there was a budget that was given by the government, and I think it was, I'm going to throw out some numbers that are approximate, something like $25 million US was the allowable budget. Mark, you can always correct me. But the pier that was originally proposed that was to emulate the same size and scale of the Plymouth pier came in something like 3 times that amount originally. So Stantec's effort was to take a look and try to give a maximum amount of pier back for the budget that was allowable. So we were constrained by the budget, and so we had to scale down the pier to make it work within that budget. So we came up with several iterations. We came up to, I think, option K, 13 different scenarios that was reviewed to make sure that we hit that target without giving you too small. So we tried to give as much bang for the buck as we could for that, and so that's why we went through various scenarios to come up with a design and a budget that would work. With every design that we had associated, estimates that basically validated the construction. And by the way, as the bid came in for this particular design, it came in within very close to where the budget was estimated by Stantec. So it was all about budget control. To answer your question,
Which is very sad, but you said 24 million US dollars. As far as I know,
originally,
as far as I know, and I see here, it was 24 million pounds, not US dollars.
so I can't be precise on that.
Very well. There's a quite difference.
Sorry, I was just going to add, because I think it picks up on your point and the lady's Katya's point. So yes, cost was a consideration. Budget, grant-aided projects, cost always comes into play. But there are key success factors for the project, key outcomes that are being driven by the investment, and they are primarily reducing downtime for the current vessels coming into the bay, but also enabling cruise ships that currently come into Montserrat to be able to dock alongside rather than using the tenders to come in. So it is not to radicalise the use of Little Bay. To go to Katya's question, I think it's to improve security of access, regularity of access. So we're not turning away the vessels that are currently coming in. We're not losing that trade, but also that we're expanding the access to the cruise vessels that are currently coming. So we're never going to be the mega ship cruise port on the basis of this facility. The outcomes, so the design that we have now still achieves the minimum outcomes from the Caribbean Development Bank, and that was a reduction in the downtime of the use of the port and expanded access from cruise and cargo vessels. So in order to maintain CDB funding, we still have to meet those key success criteria. And that's why we went through the design process, because the other option would have just been to have stopped the project and looked at other ways of seeing investment. So it still achieves the primary outcomes. I just want to underline that point.
Just as you want to say something, I'll continue. I'm continuing on this. Just as a warning, or because that thing about the budget is strange. It's strange, and it is not making a lot of sense to me. Because if we know when this concept was brought in 2019, in May or June of 2019, that was the concept of the port and so on. There was expected at the time 24 million pounds. I'm sorry, I'm not being distracted here. I'm trying to pay attention to the comment. not know what you're talking about, please. You don't know. You really? So I publish, the government.
Okay.
I don't want to be distracted by things. Okay? Oh, really? Really? Anyhow, what I'm saying, what I'm talking about is the situation. It bugs me that if at that time you mentioned about the time lapse and all the time we lost and so on, it helped to create the downscaling of what the plans were, or the intentions were. But there's this big opening in 2019, and there was funding when the new government came in. He talked about there was not enough money to do what was before with the plan that was there. That's the one thing I remember. And I knew at that time that the plan was where the rest of the funding was going to come from. It was there. People talking about they don't know. Okay. So why the question that I would have to the government, not for here, is what's the question?
You're distracted? You want me to go on top of
When I call it, then I can tell. Breaking the situation. But that's a big thing. Let's get that.
Thank you.
Two questions. From what I see, in the real estate, from the designs that you brought up before, there's no provision made for fishermen. That's true.
The design that we have here, the design that I showed you there was given to us. So that's through the 80K that Stantec has worked through based on the budget. So we've been given this layout and we can move a few meters here and there.
So there's no safe harbor for the fishermen. No. I know you said that. Remember, and I'm saying this, that we had a fishing competition the other day, and all the fish was sold before the fishermen came in. If nobody wants to buy a commercial vessel in Montserrat to fish simply because there's no protection in the harbor for a fishing vessel. And as a result of that, Montserratians come back home in the droves and they can't get fish to eat simply because the fishermen here cannot even supply for those of us who are here. I'm saying this to the government and to whoever else, that the fishermen do not have a safe harbor. Second question, which the gentleman here in the blue, you're making a statement, I made a statement, questioning. I'm challenging something that the gentleman said. The wharf is 130 meters. The other gentleman there said that the vessels that could fit in there are 140 meters. No, the dolphin is 45 meters away from the end of the pier. 2 weeks ago, 4 vessels were in harbor. Windsurf, Starship, Sea Dream, Star Pride, and Silverwind came some other time. All of them except one. One is 155 meters. The other one is 159 meters. The other one is 159 meters. And the other one is 187 meters. According to what he just said, none of them could fit in there.
You can answer your own question.
Yes, okay, so hold on. Hear this. I want to go on to say this. It means that what happened yesterday, a tourist boat came in yesterday, day before yesterday, and because it was so rough, the people couldn't get off the boat to go into the tender. So, if these boats are excluded from getting inside here, and they are on the outside, and they still can't get into the tender because it's rough out there. It means that boats, we had 5 or 6 dismissals already for the year. So it means that dismissals will continue after spending $100 million. That's my concern.
I'll just comment on the vessel side. We have a design criteria in our basis of design that talks about different vessels, and some of those vessels are those cruisers that you mentioned. I don't remember exactly which ones, but there are Windstar or others that are named in our basis of design that would be accommodated at this pier. And I said 130 meters. It's dangerous to talk about size sometimes, but obviously the reason why you have that dolphin out there is to handle large ships that can potentially be larger than 130 meters. It depends on their configuration. So I would take the exact number I said, 140 meters as gospel. Let's look at the design criteria.
Remember, the vessel that is parked in here does not go all the way up to the 130 meters. So, 2/3 of it probably be the boat, but the rest of it is going to go beyond the dolphin.
Yeah, potentially. It could. So, yeah, but I would have to go back to the basis of design.
If I could just add on the vessel size, just briefly. The vessels that you mentioned there, up to the 187 meter, they were included in the reference design. In 2020, we would have also visited all of the cruise and cargo ship providers out in Miami, including Carnival, who owns a lot of those smaller cruise vessels. They all expressed comfort with using this facility, the majority of conditions for that reference vessel size. There are vessels that currently come in which I think go all the way up to 210 meters. They might be stretching the capability of this in certain conditions, but the 187 was included in the baseline design assumptions. So yes.
Can I make my... Yes, thank you. I heard a rumor, and it seemed to be confirmed by something you mentioned earlier, that fishing boats won't be allowed to land on the pier. But I think I heard you talking about another pier that would be put in the bay for them or something. And it was also said that local boats, like just people who have boats, wouldn't be allowed to land on the pier either. So if you could just clarify that. And I have another question after that.
Thank you for your question, ma'am. Quickly, but in terms of the fishing vessel, do remember that there's the existing pier as well, which the fishing boats can dock, and we're also looking at the more long-term facility on the Piper's Pond. We are discussing that at the moment. Obviously, it's going to cost additional as well, but it's something that I personally have discussed with a lot of the fishing folks around. And it's something that we are looking at. One of the reasons why we haven't gone full steam ahead with it is because we just want to give the contractor the opportunity to get himself prepared, get on with the work that he's doing currently. But the intention is before the project is complete that we can look at that aspect. And so because I don't think that while construction is going on, that facility would be available for the fishermen. It has to be after the project is completed, because there will be quite a number of large pieces, as he described, would have to be transported from that temporary jet and pipe spot.
While the project is going on, but when it's completed.
Yeah, so we're definitely looking at that. I have raised it. Sorry, go ahead.
So I don't think we should wait on another project that needs more funding. Shouldn't the fishermen be allowed to, and local boats that take people out for
to use the facility in Piper's Pond? It would not be feasible during the construction phase of the project. But
no, I don't mean during the construction phase.
Right.
When it's completed,
yes,
will fishing boats and local boats be allowed?
So I'm saying it is something that we are actively pursuing. Thank you.
It's just worth saying as well that the new port will provide significant protection to the existing pier. The dredging that will take place at the existing pier as well will expand how that can be used in the future. So the existing jetty will remain and will remain open for use by some of the vessels that you've been talking about there. Yes, the existing jetty remains. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Shirley Osborne. Could you do me a favor, please, and show me can we see the picture with the actual photograph of the beach with the design of the pier? Could you go back to that one? Yes. I have a couple of questions. One, well, the first is not a question. I just want to say that I am really interested in there being an answer to Katya's question about the social and economic, cultural effects. As far as the fishers are concerned, they've already been displaced. So the socio-economic damage has already been done. And I got in just before you put that slide up, and I didn't quite understand if when you drop the big caissons, you call them? Yeah, whatever. Will water flow through them, over them, around them? Is the pier going to be blocked off? So what is in place for scum getting inside? Because I see St. Kitts, I see Antigua, I see St. Martin. They're filthy. What's going to happen to Little Bay? Is it going to go and stay brown? Is my question. And if that's the case, then we have an answer to Katya's question. So water is not going to flow through. No. Okay.
I'll hand back to the government to answer the social and gender questions.
Yes, fine. Yes.
The technical questions is maybe, sorry, Montserrat, if you could go to the section view, maybe go down a little bit. Back up one. So this, apologies, I didn't explain it clearer before. This will all be filled with dirt. And at the end of the pier, so imagine this is coming out, at the end we will have a concrete wall at the end. So no dirt can escape, no water can go in. And obviously, as you can see, this will be a full concrete wall. This is the outside on the west side. And so this will be a complete structure, concrete on the side here, concrete on the top and concrete on the side.
So we can't swim under, we can't swim through it.
Big 100%. So one in Plymouth is an open structure, Lyle's an open structure. This will be a closed structure.
So, which means that somebody will be coming back every 10 years? You have to find $20 million to dredge it? And will it be your company?
No.
Okay. And the other question I have, I didn't see, I know there's the pier and then there's the port, and I'm not sure if what part of the pier is dedicated to freight as opposed to people. Are we going to keep them separate, or will they be getting mixed up in boxes and barrels and things?
That's the question for the port, how they want to run it. So that the whole pier here will be able to accept vessels along with the pier, both the inside and outside. Obviously, there's weather constraints, etc., etc. Obviously, the preference, you want to have a ro-ro vessel there. We don't dictate anything. We've been asked to do, design, build something that's a footprint like this.
Yes.
And then obviously the board will decide how we wish it. We are talking at the moment, we're going through some of the details of how best to accommodate both vessels. So you have ramps that come out for the cruise ships, the smaller vessels, the ro-ro vessels to try and make sure we accommodate it. Part of the design is the whole pier here can take a harbour crane. So you'll be able to fly the crane up and down and unload vessels. Obviously some vessels come with themselves. Have a roadway to be able to transport equipment as well. So it's been designed to allow capability to have cruise ships and container ships, etc., etc.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Clearly, I shouldn't be competing with others right now. I have many questions I'd love to ask. Some of the questions asked I don't think are fully answered. So I'm hoping that the Minister will arrange some meeting for other members of government who have a good view and question you as well. So, Honourable Minister, I hope you can arrange that. First of all, it is clear that this design is not designed with our future in mind, seriously. If you can't cope for fishermen now, if you can't cope for the vessels that you're aiming to market, I still don't understand. Well, I have to ask this. Those vessels that you mentioned, if you're rough seas, can they actually dock? That's the first thing. Or what sort of rough seas would prevent them from docking? In addition to that, if you were to go out several meters, I don't know how many, how much would it take for you to have roll on roll off and still have a ship, another ship, docking? And lastly, I want to simply state that when, as government, we were approached by the British government to build a pier, they told us they were going to give us £15 million. I insisted that we do not design a port to match money, but to design a port that fulfills a purpose that is futuristic and can be improved if necessary. They came up with a minimum design, a minimal design, which is what would have cost much more. It appears that we've got many steps back from that. I hope that you'll be able to show us the 13 scenarios at some other point. But lastly, there are so many things that I can't do it now, it's not clear. The coral reefs that you have to move, the dredging you have to do, wouldn't that be less if you were to be moved out further to sea? Are you forced to do that dredging because you're closer or not?
So maybe to make it clear, the 13 design was done by Stantec. Once they come to 13 design, we're getting confused a little bit here, got Robert on the spotlight, but I can't answer your question because I wasn't involved. So apologies, I'm not trying to help well but one of the points you're bringing up is very logical. I think the first not saying it's right. And you can get out of the actually not. So they're mentioning something very rough seas. Obviously, with the designs they might be, they can't be very rough seas. They cannot. You will need the breakwater there. When the breakwater is there, the least thing going. But at the end of the day, it is up to the master as well as the mystery.
Good afternoon, class. I think we're over time. And we know we have a lot to talk about, so we'll be meeting you again next month. But a few more people want to say something. So, Mr. Buffon, your turn, and we have.
Okay, good afternoon. What I want to ask is the protection between the ro-ro raft that you're building and the present jetty, right? That's protection. You have protection material inside there.
Just to be clear, you're talking about here?
Yes. Yeah, correct. There is. Right. So that's what armored rock, breakwater.
Armored rock.
Right. Okay. For the fishermen's sake, since we're talking about fishing a little bit, I'm asking: is the cost to probably put a roll-on, roll-off there for the fishermen to slide, like a slip for the fishermen to slide up? Is the cost for putting in a slip there almost as equal as the amount of money it will take to put in the armoring? Because I'm asking that the fishermen get a little protection from that structure you have outside, right? And you clearly an area perhaps 30 feet wide as a slip for the fishermen to get up. Because right now, the present slip that we are using is very risky and treacherous, right? Very risky and treacherous between the pier on one side and the rocks on the other side. You know, many fishermen have lost bits and pieces coming in and out of there. So I'm just saying, if supposing you can say, well, okay, you can tweak the budget, you can tweak the money that you have and put a concrete slip in instead of some of all that probably on the shallow part. That's my question. If the monies are similar.
No, there'd be additional costs there. Everything we design here has to be designed. We've got a 50-year design life. So it really has to be designed for all the hurricanes, has to be designed for all the mid-ocean that will come in. So there will be additional costs there. I mean, it's up to the government if they want to instruct us to do something like that, that's possible. But there will be additional costs there.
So what I'm asking, the monies that you may be putting into the ramp at Iris Park. If it were me, I would put the monies in at the pier because I know it's 100% safe. If you put inside that wall, and if you put that pipe spot, I'm telling you, you're only gonna have use for that maybe 50%.
So maybe clear about this bond. There's no ramp at the moment. We can go back. The Ro-Ro ramp that's there is for us, and it doesn't go all the way down to the seabed. That's for our Ro-Ro vessel. And to be very clear, this facility here is a donation from Meridian back to the community. Officially, we were going to take this facility out. The amount of steel that's in there, we could reuse on another project and build another temporary facility in the next job. And Meridian, the owners of Meridian, decided that part of the discussion they had to leave this in situ as a temporary / permanent structure. That's why we're discussing with the government about what we can do to make it more permanent. But that ramp that's there is like the Ro-Ro ramp existing in the facility at the moment. It doesn't go all the way to the seabed. What there is discussions, and we haven't really discussed anything more than an idea of a ramp. At the end of the job, if there's additional funds or whatever it may be, to put some sort of ramp outside of it. But again, this here is not part of the project. We're building this as a requirement to get our materials and our equipment on site. And then we've discussed with the government as a donation, we would leave the steel there. We're talking about $500,000 worth of steel there that's being left by Meridian there. So that's something we would have taken to the next job and build a new port or a new temporary facility.
Yes, ma'am, everyone. I would like to ask the people at the table, if this pier or port was to be built in your state, in your country, in your village, would any of you accept it?
I live in the mountains.
Anybody here in this village accept this port? So why are we building it? No one accepted the car. Nobody satisfied with it. It's an important joke. Why are we doing this? Why? It's not good for us. It's going to grow us from the airport. But why are we doing it? Oh my God.
Okay, let's cool down a little bit. Let's cool down a little bit. There are many. I'm looking at the designs and all of that, and there are many possibilities for a lot of things. Probably not now because of the finance, but probably in the future. Like in terms of what I'm seeing here with this bulkhead at Piper's Point. There's no breakwater system to say that is there, but that also can be put in by the government, and even while they're working here to be able to assist in that. And the other thing is that if you get back to the main dock, the main port thing, where you have after the Ro-Ro ramp coming in short to the old or the present dock, where you say you're gonna have some armored rocks and this kind of stuff. That area, as Hugo was talking about, can be or could be slightly designed in terms of being able to create a space for the fishermen and their boats. But I'm told that it's been said, I didn't hear, but I just want to ask you. I'm told that it's been said that they don't want any fishers in that area But if per se something was done there, it will be a great shelter for vessels, these little fishing vessels inside of there. So these are things that we have to look at in order to move forward.
I'm going to get up. I made this recommendation since the grand opening sun turning that you dredge a hole, after you finish dredging, you dredge a hole here and you bury a 10,000-pound cement block 50 feet from the wharf. That will put it about here. And you run a chain across to here and dredge here and put another cement block there. And a very, very heavy anchor chain with smaller chains coming up to floats. And the fishermen can come in and park their boats inside here, and they can sleep comfortably at night. We cannot sleep comfortably at night, especially the past week. You see the amount of wind, and then you have seas. And just last week, one of the boats broke anchor and went. They found it, luckily. But fishermen of Montserrat do not have any insurance. Fishermen of Montserrat don't have anything that protection for them. And when we come in, and I happen to be fortunate enough in the previous government to hear the Minister of Commerce and Works say, we don't want any stinking fishing boat inside here.
And I think, Miss Jones, I was saying this as long as it
I've been asking.
I'm asking, yes, but
I think
How many times? But that's okay. I just wanted to ask a question on this picture right here, follow from what he stated. He was stating that, but this gentleman right here was stating that he was disappointed, right? But regardless of that piece, I wanted to, and the gentleman, Peter, stated, and also Robert, was stating that this is expandable in the future, right? So my question one is, compared to Plymouth, because that's what everybody was talking about, you went down about... You stated you had to go down, I think, 25% of what Plymouth was like based on the picture that you originally got in order to make the pricing, right? Now, you said there's room for expansion on this. Compared to Plymouth, that you had to go down about 25%, how much percent more could this be expanded in the future for the big 200-meter boats that somebody else was trying to discuss? So that's one part of the question. So is it expandable in the future?
It's expandable in the future, but maybe not in the scale.
So
it is expandable, but maybe not to the scale that you have described. What I would have to do is take the Plymouth Pier and look at our expansion potential and compare the two, which I am not prepared to answer until I do.
So basically, if you're talking about possible expansion to help with some of these people's questions, that's one of the main information we'll need. Is it expansible just for foot, and you just tell us that and we get happy, and then when we try to do it 10 years later, then we find out, as somebody says, as bad as the airport?
No, I think what we'll do is we're learning from this opportunity tonight, and we've got subsequent meetings. And so what I think we're going to do on our next meeting is try to answer the questions that came up. For example, be more precise about the size of the ships that can accommodate this current design. I think we owe that to you. And we have that information, just not on the tip of my head.
Okay, perfect.
So I can provide that. Also, the scale of the future expansion, we can provide that in great detail. And then we can compare the two for you and show you a plan of the two and how they compare. So I think with a little bit of time and homework that we do, we can answer your questions more precisely.
Okay, and then the last part of my question, and I'll give up the mic. The back area is the beginning fill wall, which Peter State could be expanded out as long as the length of the actual pier. Right. So, but he just a little moment ago, he stated that when boats come in, they could go on either side, right?
For this current design,
right.
Yes.
So in the future, if we want to expand, right, now we have no use of that side because we are expanding out and we are protecting that side of the pier. So exactly what kind of expansion are we able to have and the uses? So today, if this was built today, we could have 2 boats on this side and 2 boats on this side. But in 5 years, if we get money someplace and we begin filling this along the pier to protect the pier, then we lose 2 spots. So how are we able to expand if we're losing before we even begin?
It's a balance, certainly, and you are correct what you're saying. You're going to lose the berthing side on the sea side. But you're going to gain a breakwater. So it's a balance. You're going to gain something.
So this expansion is what you're considering the breakwater, the fulfillment of the breakwater.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think what we owe you is we'll show you a plan of the proposed future design that you need to see,
yes,
so we can do an accurate comparison.
Okay, perfect.
Good evening. I would like to leave here with a little bit of clarity in my own mind.
and I'm sure, hopefully, if I ask this question, others might get some clarity. The area on the edge towards the cliff, where you have the bit of breakwater, is that what it's supposed to be?
This part here?
Yes. How tall is that?
I have to look at the drawers where it is as a temporary phase, but the permanent phase, the expanded phase, I was talking about it today, so I know the answer. It's 5 meters above the deck.
5 meters is how much feet? So 15 feet high, and you're saying that is breakwater that you could potentially put across the outside of the pier.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
All the way up.
Right. So as I understand it, now, as it stands now, when we have those North Seas that we get all the time, we're going to get one in another few weeks, I'm pretty sure. We're going to see waves coming over the existing designed pier. Not the existing pier, but that design, we will see water coming over it just as we see with the existing pier. What was that?
Correct.
Okay, good. So, all right. However, if in the future we find some money to extend the breakwater, the 15 feet high breakwater along the outside of the new pier, then we should not see waves coming over the pier. Correct?
It's meant to be sheltered. They'll obviously get hurricane.
If it's really bad, we know that.
It becomes more of a sheltered harbour.
So my question, therefore, is, after establishing those facts, what is the estimated cost of covering the 130 meters on the outside of the pier? What are we running away from, and what are we not asking for additional monies for? How much is it?
I was going to say that.
You can't tell me it can't be done if you don't know how much it costs.
But that was essentially, the original design was for a breakwater that went the full length of the pier. So we know roughly that was the unaffordable price that we had.
Which is, what's the extra that we're saving by not covering the full length?
It was around 70 million US.
70 million US to put some rocks in the water. That's what we're saying.
For the original design.
Okay.
Which was a slightly longer pier and a much more significant breakwater.
Right. So I think I have the clarity that I wanted. We need 70 to 100 million more dollars if we're going to protect the pier and not see water waves breaking over a brand new pier that we built in 2023.
So I'll hand over to Robert because there will still be overtopping on the design, but I'll let him speak to it from a structural.
There will be, on occasion, some overtopping even in the final design based on the probabilistic approach and the metocean studies that have occurred. There's significant wave heights that we're designing for. Those significant wave heights are about 7 meters is what is in our report currently. Significant wave height is a statistical average of the upper third waves that come along in the storm. And so we looked at actually the last 125 years of storms and estimated this to be what that would be, a significant wave height. But the actual wave height in the worst condition could be almost twice that much. So there could be potentially a 14-meter wave, 40-foot wave coming over, and it will overtop the existing structure in a hurricane event. And so that is considered part of the design criteria. It's a very small probability, but it could happen in the life of the structure. Okay, just one more fact I want to establish. You said to somebody just now, I like to manage expectations. You said to someone just now that the extent of the expansion of the pier, the jetty, might not be as much as we're imagining. So I want you to tell us, in your estimation, having regard to the mooring buoy that you already have out in the water, you'll be fixing in the water, how many more meters would we be able to get on top of the 130 meters that already exist? It looks to me like you're only saying 10 meters.
No, I'm not going to answer that until I'm sure, but I would have to refer back to our original basis of design to answer the question and be precise, but it should be significant.
You just said it would not be significant. Now you're saying it's significant.
I'm going to deflect that question so I'm not wrong, but it's significant. It might be
I'm thinking something like 30 meters, but I'm not certain at this time.
So about 30 meters, is all we can expect. Just wanted to clarify.
Okay, what I'm hearing from Ralston is 40 meters, so
40, so
according to the basis of design, which I have to review.
So 40 meters is the maximum we can expect the future expansion of the port to be. So 170 meters.
Based on our current.
Thank you very much.
Have you ever seen a teacher lose control of a class? That just happened. Yeah, the school bus is waiting outside. And I'm thinking, let me see the hands of the people who enjoyed the discussion.